Hello. I think we might be all right here. Who knows? You can see it clear now and edit and be some whole other nonsense. For real. But welcome back into the Phases podcast. I'm your host, Nia. If you're new here, be sure to one, follow me on my platforms as well as hitting that subscribe button to be aware of any new episodes that I post. And if you're a returning subscriber as well as listener or viewer, you already know the vibes and how we get down. So let's first dig into this background because if you didn't know, last week's episode was moved to this week's because I was, of course, having some technical difficulties last minute, and I said, you know what, we're not even stressing, let alone giving it any energy. So I really was just a little bit more intentional, got my room together, and we finally, I think, we got a good old, oh, greediness. We got a dope little setup going on here. Like, okay, so I like this one moving forward, and it's something like I'm trying to make a more welcoming area. So it's like not too much thinking or too much energy that has to get put into recording. It's mainly sitting down, plugging in the lights, getting a little production going, and carrying on, honestly. We'll see. Because it's always something. But thank you guys for tuning back in and watching or listening. In today's phases episode, I wanted to just talk about this phase of cause and effect, right? So what do I mean by cause and effect, right? Whatever we put out into the world, we're bound to get back. It's very easy for us to associate this with like good karma, bad karma all the time. When in all actuality, it's just like a simple principle. You've probably heard it in a sense of reaping what you sow. Um, what goes around comes around. Like so many different sayings is, geared around that. But I feel like not too many people really focus on the entire context of that. It's usually, you know, when pondering on maybe somebody else, a lot of the times, is when we can think about, oh, they're going to get their karma or they're going to get their get back and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes we really don't sit to think like, one, our contribution to our own cause and effect. It just really could look different for everybody. How you treat other people, your integrity, what you do when only God sees, resentment, stress, anything you got to think deeply about that too. And I'm only thinking of it from, my perspective as well as, circumstance and the environment, so that can vary based upon, from person to person. And even when you think about that, it's so easy, especially today with social media. Like, I feel like it's a same phrase every week, but it's so easy to just get distracted, like externally, with other things and people and all that kind of stuff. And it's very easy to take the attention away from yourself, you know. Um, Even though I can say, because oh my goodness, all right, I mean, I think about that because I almost cried. I just realized my cosmetology anniversary just came up. I graduated. Okay, it's coming up Friday because it was on his birthday. So it's coming up this week. I didn't even think about that. But with it being a full year of going full throttle with entrepreneuring, I feel like nothing has made me be able to focus more on myself than doing so, because you're constantly checking yourself to see, like, one, what am I doing? What is the impact that I'm having? You're constantly evaluating yourself because at this stage in entrepreneurship that I'm in, a lot of my success has to do with me, my representation, what I'm putting out there, intentions, whoop de whoop. So when you do that and you're doing that work, and if you're already familiar with that work, whether you've been in shadow work or therapy or whatever prior, you become heightened in your self-awareness. And I feel like in the adult world right now, not everybody is aware of themselves, let alone understanding the depth meaning of self-awareness. So with that being said, if you are somebody that's more self-aware, you may find that you're a little bit more rather drawn back, or distant from certain ones that you don't find to have that same common ground, level-headed ability. And it can get hard, but at the same time, you also have to become a steward of being an example. Sometimes it's so easy to get caught up in being a public example that we get about forget about being private ones. And the private ones is usually and what do I mean by saying private examples? Meaning I don't have to put on a forefront of what I'm doing that shows that this validates my character, or this, is a reflection of this. And it's crazy to even when you see this kind of happen in your own world, because even though I didn't really feel like, the last few years that I've been like in a shell, or, kind of out the way, but I definitely have been more, I kind of have, because I wasn't putting a lot of things out. Like I was in a whole different, season of my life. So now I'm in this season where I'm sharing more, enjoying life a little bit more, because, I'm not stressed with school. I don't have no, nothing strenuous on me. Right now it's just a lot of like trying to reap the fruits of my labor, so to speak. So putting out, getting things done and putting into motion, so forth and so on. So now because of that, I'm seeing more of my impact as well as my personality on others, as well, or how can I say it? Like I'm seeing more how people receive me, because I'm not just in the comfort of my few little friend groups, or in my home. I'm a little bit more outgoing now, so you kind of get to see like how you rub off on people. And it's been just so interesting just to see like what's that's been like what that has been like. And if anything, it's been a little bit more reassuring, because I can just be myself, because I'm not going out of my way to show you what I am, who I am, or whatever. But it's kind of like almost finding your tribe, those who are going to mesh with you, or accept you, love you, rock with you. They're going to naturally come to you if you're not forcing anything, and times in which you may be forcing it might be just a different season that you might need to just be settling in, and kind of like checking yourselves along that line. um some things you might can think about, if you find that you might want to constantly be checking yourself, or constantly develop a little bit more self-awareness of yourself. I say start with, what are your focuses? It's so crazy. And then, we'll be talking about relationships soon, but I just thought about this in the sense of like, as we're talking about self-awareness, I was just listening to a pod not too long ago, and pretty much I think it was like a context um where they were talking about, what somebody brings to the table. And this guy, I'm telling you, he hit it right on the nose with just the whole context of that whole what do you bring to the table nonsense, right? And so many times people can get caught up in it because it's a very egotistical method that people like to use in their dating world that has truly genuinely expired. But what he was saying was pretty much, when you say all this, what do you bring to the table? It's so like entitled, like, what can I get out of you? Like this I forget the exact wording he used, but pretty much like a very transactional base, and we're talking on the initial time of you, getting to know somebody. And he said, versus being like, what are your values? It was a little finger snap to that, because that even him saying that, I'm like, whoa, like that's a completely different context, and something I definitely was like, oh, I'm gonna have to share that, because, and if I find the clip, I'm definitely gonna tag, because we don't do that. But that really did just set a different tone, because the world has changed. Back in the day, you might have been, it was more of a man being single-handedly providers, women staying home taking care, kids, whoopty whoop whoop. But things are changing. Even if some women might be in position where their man can take care of the full household, how many women are even wanting to do that? Not me, but it's just like the simple fact that that does not even sit on our generation the same as it did with, ones prior. So just to touch on, what do you value? It's such a more in-depth thing because we're not even in the same day and time, not to mention, we're in a very unpredictable world as well. That whole fantasy land of, wanting to be rescued by Prince Charming and, put into a castle and live happily ever after. It can happen, but it's not going to happen maybe in the way that you may think. So life has changed. So speaking more to that, even when we're talking about our focuses, like the value system is very important too, because what one values or cherishes or appreciates is different from the other person, so that can also, even in your friendships or your relationships, those that people that you are keeping in your company, that will help you even to examine, who do I have around, what are these individuals, their value systems, even right now. I am in a lot of gratitude because I seen something that I have worked hard on starting to pay off crazy. And that has been my friendships. Like, mm, keeping it right there. But I'm just focused on your values. Like, seriously. And when something doesn't align, you cannot sit here and try to force it to. I'm a firm believer in what's for you is going to be for you and will never miss you, long as you're constantly doing what's best for you. So as you're doing this best for you and you're making the decisions that you need to make, everything will come full circle. However, when you tolerate low, things and low vibrational stuff that's not adding to your purpose, you kind of see how you just are on this treadmill effect of life, and it really keeps you more stagnant than anything. Even, understanding the value system along with that can help people to see, like, am I a messy person? Am I drama filled? Am I the one, like sip a little tea? It's always tea to sip, but are you the one making the pot? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you the one that's constantly serving it? It makes you just evaluate yourself on a deeper level to even for you to understand, what is your impact to others? How are people receiving you? Being low vibrational is very contagious. People don't even realize the cause effect of that. If you're constantly negative, constantly, itching and complaining about the same stuff that you're not trying to change, how do you think that's coming back around to you? That's very real. That's why even when people, talk certain ways, you can tolerate. Obviously, I always say you can listen, but you have to be careful about what you allow to seep into your mind and your heart. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, it's usually only going to seep or take some type of connection if there's some type of similarity. But even when you think about low vibrational, habits, there is some type of similarities that can keep you being stuck there. Even when you're changing your routine up, because I feel like at a point, especially after I had my son, I was a little low vibrational. I was a little depressed, but I started taking responsibility and getting the things in life that I wanted in order. I'm not going to sit here and constantly keep saying, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, da, da, da. So wherever you choose to stay or think that you're going to stay, is based upon you. You're not going to feel one thing all the time, but you can try to set your life up in a way where you feel it more frequently. We have a lot of control over our lives. As much as people like to try to give their power away so much, we have a lot of control over our lives. So once you start taking advantage of what you do have control over, you'll see that, hey, I want to be a lot more content and happy and chilled out, more okay. What is in my life that's causing that to not happen? Because granted, our emotions will fluctuate, but it's not supposed to be this crazy up, down, up, down, up, down, So you want to just have a little bit of a smoother flow with your feelings and your emotions. And that just comes with checking yourself to see what maybe you have going on that may be, hindering that. Y'all hear that? Even when you're not aware of it and you're just speaking so much low vibrational energy, or low, just negativity, and you're just constantly pushing that out. You got to be careful because words are so powerful, bruh. And I've been learning to very much control what I say. And that's been something, even in the smallest way, I've seen the impact with. I've seen the difference. So you just want to be very careful with the power of the tongue, and checking yourself for that, for sure. It's so interesting. I had an experience recently and this person was just talking about like how they don't need no friends. You know what I'm saying? And this is not the first time I've like encountered this. I used to be a person myself who used to say the same thing, and when they were just talking about this, after that discussion, I'm just observing so many things unconsciously, rather it be like the attitude, the way you treat people, how might this person be like maybe a little temperamental, you know what I'm saying? Like different things that's given unsatisfied, you know. And it made me just think like, wow, when I used to say those things and constantly thinking like, even though I may have been in situations where I was wronged, playing a playing the victim role will never get you the results that you want. Like even if, you know, all these things may have happened and whoop whoop whoop, constantly thinking that just shrinking back is the only solution and just allowing you to not have those things are a little detrimental. But what did I even go if we're taking it back to even the initial part of this discussion when I talked about the value system, that's really where the underlying issue is going to be. And it was crazy because months ago, oh, hold on. Hello. And this was somebody before like that. I'm like, oh, maybe we can link up or whatever the case was. Boop, boop. And it's just crazy how it never even happened or turned out. But it's just like alignment be really mattering. And I just feel like, sometimes even when you be wanting certain things or wanting certain connections or friendships and stuff like that, it's so important to let stuff happen naturally, because when you try to force it, it's like it never really works out how you intend, and then eventually you're going to turn around and be like, wow, like everything actually worked out way better than I could have even anticipated for real. So that is all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to follow me on my platform. And without any further ado, I will see you in the next episode.